Yeah, so my name is Andrew Choi, and I'm a software engineer and tech lead for companies like Microsoft, LinkedIn, Snapchat, IBM, BlackBerry. I'm going to be your instructor for the course Software Engineering Interview Prep. So if you're targeting software engineering role at top tech companies, I would highly recommend you attend this course. This course is absolutely free, and we will cover everything from software engineering to technical interviews, to soft skill interviews, to go-to-market strategy. During this course, I'll cover very important topics, most asked interview questions, and the efficient ways to solve them. I have more than 78 years of experience in software engineering role at top tech companies in the United States, and I've helped a lot of candidates with interview preparation. I'm very excited to help you land your dream role. So definitely sign up for my course using the code Andrew, ANDREW, and I look forward to meeting you in the upcoming sessions as well. Okay, so let me give you a quick intro and overview of HiCounselor. HiCounselor is an online career accelerator that helps job seekers find full-time job. We help candidates with interview preparations, as well as getting the interview calls. So we utilize AI-powered job search tool and a strong network of 300 plus employers to help candidates land a job. So every candidate gets personal attention and mentorships from professionals like myself who come from top tech companies. And the payment structure at HiCounselor is income share agreement called ISA, where you don't pay anything to HiCounselor until you land a job. Once you land a job, you pay a fraction of your first year salary in 6 monthly installments. So there's $0 upfront cost. So if you're currently looking for a position in tech industry, HiCounselor could be a great resource for you. And the next cohort at HiCounselor starts very soon. So if you're interested, please apply on HiCounselor.com. Feel free to use my code Andrew, ANDREW, and you will get a $500 discount when you start paying HiCounselor after landing the job. Okay. So let's go with questions.
No, I just wanted to ask, like, this the program that you were talking about, is it only for jobs or is it for internships as well?
Yeah, great question. It's definitely for both full-time jobs as well as internships / even co-op positions that is offered by University of Waterloo. I'm not sure if you heard about that school, but they, along with other schools, they do something very similar to internships. It's called co-op program. But to answer your question, yes, we do internships, co-ops, as well as full-time jobs. So definitely take advantage of this program, because as you can see on my LinkedIn profile, which is on the screen share, I have worked for many top tech companies, and I have this very hands-on experience of conducting interviews as well as going through these companies as a candidate myself. And I've made thousands of successful conversions, as well as many mistakes. That's why I'm able to share these personal experiences and help you essentially expedite everything without going through all the hassles that I went through.
Right. Yeah, I will check it out. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and I mean, even before HiCounselor, I helped many developers and aspiring engineers get into companies like Google, Amazon, Microsoft. And after I joined HiCounselor, I'm happy to join forces and even help expanded reach of people. So
yeah, that's great. Yeah, thank you.
So the first common mistake, the very common mistake is, I'm going to start from very generic into more specific, and I'm going to start from whatever is the most common, and those are usually what you might be expecting, and then I'm going to go into more specific ones. So the first mistake is obviously lacking full comprehension. of the question. And yeah. And what I suggest is always so whenever I do my sessions, I recommend the students to write this down on a pen and paper instead of like Google Doc or on some editor on your computer, because things are or learning materials are so much more absorbable when you write it down with a pencil and a paper.
Okay, yeah, I was currently doing that. So good point. Yeah, I will focus on that. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So interviewers often leave out key information. So often intentionally leave out key information for candidate to follow up with clarity questions, such as sample input, output data type, how to handle edge cases. So if you don't ask them questions about this, you're gonna not be able to implement very complete solution, which is what's expected from the interviewer. Also, they sometimes intentionally be very vague, and they might have mentioned something you didn't fully comprehend. Thus, it's critical to question and ask and follow up with clarifications, and even ask the interviewers to run through at least 2 examples to ensure that you fully comprehend the problem. If you want to go through the example, that's fine, but it never hurts to ask to interviewer to have him or her say, hey, can you go through 2 examples based off of this question? And a lot of them will say yes, and that helps you actually not only comprehend the problem better, but also gives you more time to think about the question, because they're spending the time explaining things further to you. So you need to know what you are going to compose before you start coding and programming and implementing. So definitely follow that step first, and then jumping into the code. I'm going to give you like a 30 seconds to a minute.
Yeah, all good.
Okay, so number 3. Okay, number 3 is a spin-off from the previous point. It's lack of communication. So what's the difference between software engineer and coder? Well, what differentiates software developer and software engineer is that software engineers know how to work beyond just coding. They're capable of collaborations, communication, designing architecture, and problem solving. So interviewers are about convincing. Interviewers are about persuading the interviewer that you have the expertise to perform actually well on the position at the job. So your opportunities of getting a job can be jeopardized if you're having hard time conveying your knowledge on the subject matter at hand to the actual interviewer. So it's critical to make sure that you have the sufficient enough background knowledge, but it's more important to make sure that you work with a friend on talking through the technical topics. For example, explaining how a certain algorithm works, explaining the trade-off between data structures, why such design architecture is better or worse than the counterpart or benchmark. So this allows you to collect feedback and strengthen your communication skills during the interviews. All right, let's move on to the next one. All right, so we're slowly getting into more specifics and the granular items within the interview experience. And the fourth point is code testing. So when you write code in workplace, one of the most crucial things is to test it to ensure it works. And the point of interview is to replicate how you would function and how you would operate within real production workplace environment, right?
Mm.
So interviews are no different. In an interview, usually in the interview, you don't have the time to write fully fleshed out unit tests. And sometimes companies are not going to give you an interface through which you can run your code. Despite that, you can still trace how inputs will run through your code. That's why you should take in 2 simple inputs and 3 edge cases and go line by line in your code and benchmark the result to what you expect. So this process helps you find bugs in your programming code that you actually missed during the interview. So it looks a lot more professional and better if you go through this process and find a bug over the interviewer prompting you and sending you scrambling for it.
Mm.
So I'll give you around 30 seconds. I'll give you around a minute or 2.
Okay.
Yeah, take your time. All right. All right, let's go to the next point. So what's the 5th most common mistake? It's related to Actually, no, it's not related to number one. So the fifth most common mistake is lack of understanding of data structures and algorithms. And this is obviously something you cannot just like keep in mind and master while you're just doing the interview. This is something you do pre-interview, obviously, for many, many weeks, for many, many months to be prepared. So this is not something that I expect you to be good at while in your interview, but this is totally way before, prior to the session. So nothing stops a coding interview dead in its tracks, like a candidate saying, "Oh, I don't really know how a big O notation works." So, so if you have, lack of strength or understanding there, that is your priority number one. Make sure you have full comprehension of solid, big O notation, and make a good, habit of sort of, thinking about the big O time and space complexity of all the codes that you write from here on. And you definitely, get comfortable with logarithms in mathematics, because they come up a lot more than you might think in terms of number of counts. And they take a lot of candidates completely by surprise. So before the next interview, make sure to take some time to read up on the core computer science data structures and know the strengths and weaknesses of each one of them. And in fact, I will share with you a good resource. And then know the strengths and weaknesses of each one. Focus on knowing when you should use each one. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question regarding you mentioned about data structures and algorithms. Is there a particular language that is better for the data structures and algorithms? Or like here, I see that in the link, there is Java. So is there a particular language you recommend where I should learn those concepts from?
Yeah, definitely. I'll answer that. Yes. So in terms of programming languages, it's definitely up to your choice. However, in the industry level standards, obviously you get more foundational base if you go with languages like Java, C++, C, because they follow more structured, although they are a little bit more outdated. They give it more foundational programming principles and base. Whereas more relatively more languages like Python are obviously more easy to learn. They're a bit more you get more stuff done because there are less restrictions and rules and regulations around programming principles. So it's definitely up to your choice, and the interviewer will actually not care what language you choose. But depending on the job description and the kind of like, position that you apply for, they might, for example, require Java. They might, for example, require C Sharp. They might, for example, require C++, Python. So yeah, number one, it depends on the job. Number two, you get more stronger OOP and slash foundational principles if you do languages like Java. And lastly, it never hurts to have a very strong base, because if you have a strong base, it's gonna take you very, very far. Whereas if you start with a very, very simple, easy language without much principles, then later on you'll still have to learn more complex languages.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And like, if suppose the job description is in Python and I use Python in the interview, is it like recommended to use like inbuilt functions, like for sorting? Like maybe we are sorting the array first before like solving the problem. Is that recommended, or should we use a language like Java or C++ where we have to write the logic? I think in Java we might not, but like in C++ we might have to write the logic for sorting a linked list. So so do you recommend like if for inbuilt functions should we use or not?
Yeah, great question. So the first point is, as I wrote down in the document, I go through and I prepare the candidates with all of these concepts. In fact, individual sessions and events are dedicated to things like data structures, complex algorithms, medium level questions, hard level questions, most tough questions. And how to do dynamic programming, how to do recursion, how to do iterations, how to do things like things like graph trees. So I definitely take advantage of that, because every session is different, and I prepare every aspect of technical interview. And in terms of your question, the inbuilt libraries and functions are from my experience of doing Python interviews with companies. I had no problem using these inbuilt functions or libraries, unless the question specifically was asked about, you need to implement the sorting algorithm. In that case, obviously, you need to implement it yourself. But in most cases, I was able to use the library. And in fact, I was encouraged to use the library because that helps you finish the problem faster and focus on the actual problem faster, rather than trying to spend time on something the interviewer didn't ask for. So yeah, definitely it will be up to the interviewer, and definitely ask. But in my cases, I didn't have any problem.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Sure. All right. So I'll give you 30 seconds to, just
okay, yeah. Yeah, all good. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, so the last area, is that needs to be really emphasized, is pretending you're understanding something that you don't. So this is, one of the most, actually, I would say this is the most, not the most important mistake, but the most common mistake. So pretension of understanding something that you don't. So it's very easy mistake to make. And chances are everybody doesn't know, okay, here, nobody knows 100% of everything and all the questions, even the very experts. So it's very easy mistake to make, and it's actually better to acknowledge. It's much if not efficient, it's much more it's much more effective and best in your interest to acknowledge that you don't know the answer to a certain question.
Right.
And pretending to understand something that you don't, you're going to be caught by an interviewer no matter what. Like, they will know that you don't understand something because he or she is the one that is, asking the question. So chances are they know the answer already. So it's a very easy mistake to make. You're chugging away at a problem, and your interviewer interrupts you to point something out. And let's say, the interviewer says, oh, you have to do this tech stack, or you have to use this data structure. And you have no idea what that means. But your first instinct is to just, hope it's not important, or hope you can get away with pretending to know what that means. Or, something you just say, right. And then it looks like you've gotten away with it, but then it comes up again later. So why did you choose a post-order traversal? So basically you're going to be caught, and not only do you not know what for example, post-order traversal means, but now you look very dishonest. So because saying I don't know what that means at this point means also saying, oh, I sort of pretended to know what that meant earlier. So it's best to nip this kind of problem before you end up in the situation. So when your interviewer says something you don't understand, point it out immediately. Say, I don't understand this. Be honest, and because they will help you understand it better. Because letting them think you understand is going to make things messy later. So try to be as specific as possible about what you don't understand, and it makes thinking sound much more organized. Huge difference between excuse me and what does post order mean in this context or any other like a concept that you get faced. Okay, so I want to thank you very much for your attention and your participation today. Again, if you need assistance with job search, HiCounselor could be a great resource for you. Again, the payment structure at HiCounselor is income share agreement, where you don't pay anything to HiCounselor until you land the job. Once you land a job, that's when you pay a small fraction of your first year salary in 6 monthly installments. So there's nothing upfront. The next cohort at HiCounselor starts very soon. So if you're interested, please apply on HiCounselor.com with my code Andrew, and you will get $500 discount. And in the screen share, I wrote down the 4 areas that I specialize in for internships as well. So make sure you write this down and also take advantage of this. And my LinkedIn is here if you want to note my past experience just in case. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions.
Yeah, thank you so much for listing down all the common problems. I think based on my experience as well, I have repeated those problems. So it's good to keep these in mind and having them in my notebook whenever I'm going for an interview. I'll keep them in mind, and yeah,
Okay.
It helps a lot. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah, I'm happy to anytime.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah. So I'll see you in the next session, and I'm
Sure.
happy that I was able to help out.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Have a good day.